everyone. So I'm Krista and this is Monica, and we are the founders of Fearless Public Speaking, where we teach women how to speak up powerfully in their personal lives and their careers and go on to train to become motivational speakers.
Yes, so happy to be here with you all to talk about a topic that is, I don't want to say near and dear to me and Krista's heart, because that probably sounds a little strange, but something that we've both been through and have some insights that were helpful to us that we wanted to share with all of you around the topic of divorce. And I know that can be a really edgy topic for some people. It used to be for me. And it was actually Krista originally who helped me through it. So we thought this would be a really good thing to talk about, because a lot of the times people don't want to talk about this because it's something that seems very private, or you might feel like it's a failure, or something is ending in your life, and it is the ending of one era and the beginning of another one. It doesn't have to be this horrible, guilt-ridden, shame-filled experience. So that's really what Krista and I wanted to talk about today.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to kick off and just take you back to, it was about a year ago now, Krista. I think just a little bit over a year, which is so crazy. And a little bit over a year ago, I actually did leave my marriage. My divorce was finalized this year in April. And I had met Krista last year through another friend, and I did a couple coaching sessions with Krista, and I was talking to her about thinking about leaving my marriage. I wasn't really happy. I wasn't sure what to do, but I had all of these preconceived notions about divorce being so horrible. And I grew up in a family where my parents were married all the way until my dad died in 2017. And I also went to a Catholic school, so, taught that marriage is like the sacred union. And I always had this thought in the back of my head that divorce was bad, and it meant that you failed, and it meant that you were a bad wife or a bad person. And nobody necessarily directly told me that, but a lot of times our perceptions, Krista and I just put a quote up about this the other day, like the stories that are told to you as a kid or that you see as a kid, that's what develops into your beliefs and your perceptions later in life. So factual or not, that's what I believe. And I got on the phone with Krista and we started talking, and Krista asked me such a powerful question. Do you remember what it was, Krista?
Nope.
Nope. Well, I will jog your memory. So Krista asked me, she said, Monica, what if you reframe your entire view of divorce and you stop thinking about it as a failure, and instead you think about it as the kindest, most loving thing that you can do for your husband at this point? Because if you think about it, the longer that you stick around, the longer that you are not being fully present for him, not being able to meet his needs and also meet your own, then you're taking away the ability for him to go out and find maybe the love that he does need within his life. And that was everything for me. That completely reframed the entire experience and freed me from these feelings of guilt and shame that I was thinking that I was some kind of failure for leaving my marriage.
Well, that's, first of all, amazing coaching. And I can't believe I'm like, wow, did I really say that? That's awesome. No, that makes my heart so happy. And I'm really happy that helped you to have that reframe with divorce, because the reality is that people change. Right. A lot of times what we see, and this was my personal story, I've been through divorce as well, is like when you get married in your early 20s, by the time you get to your 30s, you're going to be a different person. And then when you get to your 40s, you're a different person. And that's okay. And a lot of times we resist change, but change is good. Change is healthy, and as long, and when marriages work, as you're changing, it's because you're changing together and you're supporting each other's goals and you're growing together. But when you guys start to go in opposite directions, which happens a lot, right? What I think the divorce rate is 50% right now, is, you have to get real and you have to be honest and you have to say, why are we staying in this relationship if it's not serving us anymore? And we get so committed to, I'll just share why it was hard for me to I knew for a while that I was going to get divorced. Divorces, you don't just wake up one morning and be like, I think I'm going to get divorced today. Like you start to, you start to see all these little signs and patterns. And then you might even have conversations with your partner of like, should we get divorced and all that. So it really is like a long drawn out process. And I forgot what was I originally talking about before this? What was my point?
We're going to share about your own experience.
Yeah, but there was a point with that. Oh man, the baby's soaking up so if some of you don't know, I'm in my second trimester right now. And today was usually you're not tired in your second trimester, but the baby is like using up all my brain juice today. I don't know why today, but
pregnancy brain is a real thing.
It is a real thing. It's going to get worse, I heard, in the third trimester. So yay, that'll be fun for our Facebook Lives. But the reality is, let's see. So I was talking about with me, my personal divorce. I was so scared to, my parents had helped me to pay we had 2 beautiful weddings. We had one in Hawaii where we were stationed at the time. And then that was our little one with friends and family. And then we had a bigger one back home in St. Louis with more family members. And I was so committed to like, okay, my parents helped to pay for this, and I've chosen this person to be with for the rest of my life. And so I need to tough it out, and I need to, even if it sucks sometimes, it doesn't matter. My feelings are important. I need to stay in this because we signed a government document. My parents helped to pay this. I don't want to let everyone else down. And it's like, that's crazy. That's so crazy to stay unhappy and to stay in a marriage because of those reasons. And it made sense in my head at the time, but now I look back at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I would never stay in a relationship now because I wanted to please someone else or make someone else happy, or I was afraid of letting my parents down, or I was afraid of letting my friends down. And I feel empowered enough to say that now, but back then I didn't.
So funny that you say that, Krista, because that brought me back also. I knew for a long time too, and it's been through coaching and just a lot of the work I've done on myself to learn that I had all these fears of unworthiness and what are people going to think? Are they going to judge me? Are they going to think I'm a bad person? I knew early on, probably even a week before I got married. And I remember a conversation and sitting there being like, should I really be doing this? But it was the same thoughts that went through my head. Oh my God, my parents have spent all of this money. I have all these relatives and friends that are already paid for their tickets. They're in town. They bought presents. Like, I guess I should give it a chance because I don't want to let them down. But really, I let myself down for 11 and a half, almost 12 years. I don't know how long you were married, Krista, but for me, it was 11 and a half, almost 12 years. That's over a decade of my life.
Yeah, we were married for 4 years and together for 3, so 7 total. Yeah. But, I want to read this poem for everyone here. I'm going to put this poem in my upcoming book, Beyond the White Picket Fence. And, for anyone watching this today, our whole goal is like, we don't want you to feel bad, right? If you've gotten divorced or you're thinking about getting divorced or getting ready to get divorced, like, you didn't mess up. You didn't fuck up. Like, I really do believe people come into your life for a reason, and you learn so much from the people you choose to spend your time with. Like, I do not regret getting married. I love being a wife. I loved having my 2 weddings. Even though there was some really ugly times during my marriage, like overall, I'm glad it happened. He got me out of Missouri. We had so many adventures together. We traveled all over the world. We lived in Seattle. We lived in Hawaii. So that's why I wanted to read this poem really quick. Let me pull it up. It's really powerful.
And I agree with you, Krista, just while you're pulling that up, is that I think Krista and I also talk about this because we've done a lot of healing work on ourselves, and we don't ever want to come across as like hateful of our ex-husbands at all. I believe my ex-husband came into my life for a reason too, and I learned a lot in that relationship. I'm a scuba diver now because of him. He drove me to succeed in a lot of ways and to push myself harder than maybe I ever would have. And I probably wouldn't be where I am today without the support of him too. So it doesn't mean he's a bad person. Like Krista said, you go through ugly times, you also go through good times. And that really is what I want to remember now. You have to give yourself permission to grieve because it is a loss. Moving through that grieving process, feeling all the things is important. And it's okay to get to a point where you are able to release a lot of that and accept that it happened and remember the good times too.
Exactly. Yeah. And I didn't know you were a scuba diver. That's pretty cool. Okay. So here's the poem. People come into your path for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. When you know which one it is, you will know what to do with that person. When someone is in your life for a reason, it is usually to meet a need you have expressed. They have come to assist you through a difficulty, to provide you with guidance and support, to aid you physically, emotionally, or spiritually. They may seem like they are a godsend, and they are. They are there for the reason you need them to be. Then, without any wrongdoing on your part, or at an inconvenient time, this person will say or do something to bring the relationship to an end. Sometimes they die, sometimes they walk away, sometimes they act up and force you to take a stand. What we must realize is that our need has been met, our desire fulfilled, their work is done. The prayer you sent up has now been answered, and now it is time to move on. Some people come into your life for a season, because your turn has come to share, grow, or learn. They bring you an experience of peace or make you laugh. They may teach you something you have never done. They usually give you an unbelievable amount of joy. Believe it, it is real, but only for a season. Lifetime relationships teach you lifetime lessons, things you must build upon to have a solid emotional foundation. Your job is to accept the lesson, love the person, and put what you have learned to use in all other relationships and areas of your life. It is said that love is blind, but friendship is clairvoyant. Thank you for being a part of my life, whether you were for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. By an unknown author. Isn't that perfect, based off what we were just talking about?
Yeah, I've heard bits and pieces of it before, but I've never heard it in its entirety. So thank you, unknown author. That's amazing.
Yeah, I love that.
Well, something else I wanted to call out too is, and I think Krista and I always like to point out either side of the coin. And we also want you to know that if you're in a relationship and it's a struggle right now and you're trying to make it work, that's fucking awesome. And we completely support you in that too, because there are a lot of beautiful things that can come out of working together and getting through that difficulty. So if that's something that you and your partner are in together and you feel like it's worth it for both of you to work through it, then absolutely keep doing it. I know Krista and I are completely supportive of that. We just want you to know that if and when it gets to the point where it's not sustainable anymore, then it's not your fault. And it's not that you're a bad person and you didn't fail at this relationship. Relationships can ultimately end. It doesn't mean they failed. You can take a look at all of the good things that happened. And I would even, really easy to put your long list of here are all the things that failed in this. Think about the other side. What is everything that succeeded in this? Who am I today as a result of all of these things that happened? Maybe it was even difficult things that can be reframed as, holy shit, I didn't want to be a scuba diver. I never wanted to be a diver. I didn't like being deep in the water. I had this fear of these fish surrounding me, whatever. But when my ex-husband and I had a conversation where it was like, we don't have a lot in common, and I realized that he loves scuba diving, I was like, you know what? Okay, I'm going to push past my fears and learn how to do this. And I did, and now I love it. So, there are things that are difficult that can also turn out to be a real blessing on the other side.
Yeah. And one last thing I wanted to add to before we wrap this up is that a lot of people out here who might be watching this might be parents and thinking about divorce or getting ready to go for it, or maybe have been avoiding it because of your kids. And I know I haven't had any kids yet, so I haven't been in that position. And when I did go through my own divorce, we didn't have any children. But a common thing that I'll hear, and I've coached people with this, is, let's stay together for the kids. And I'm trying to figure out how to say this, but I don't agree with that. And the reason I don't agree with that is because I was a product of divorce. I grew up, my parents divorced when I was 3 years old. So I've known divorce my whole life. And then my mom got divorced again. I think it was like 20 or 25 years later. And I could tell, I mean, I'm a sensitive, empathic, intuitive woman. And I could tell my entire life that things weren't going to work out with her and my stepdad. And I knew that she was staying with him to make us happy and to do it for us. And that hurt my heart every single day. And all I wanted was for my mom to be happy. That's all I wanted. I think that's what kids want for their parents, to be happy. And I think a lot of times we think we're being sneaky or being crafty, and we're like, oh, people don't notice, or the kids won't notice, but they really do. Like, people can tell when you're unhappy, and kids are really smart. And I always could tell that my mom was unhappy and divorce was coming. So I know she thought that she was doing what was best for us, but really I wish that she would have done what was best for her at the end of the day, because as we like to say in the coaching world, what's best for you is best for everyone around you. And so that's just my 2 cents there. I mean, again, you are the ultimate authority of your life and your relationships and your children, so you get to decide. But I just think that if you're staying together, if you're miserable and you're staying together for your kids, it might be time to do a reality check and be like, why are we continuing this relationship that's no longer serving each other and serving our family? Because people around are feeling it.
So recap of 3 things that we want you to remember. Number 1, divorce doesn't make you a bad person. You are not a bad person if you choose to go through a divorce. You're just a person like all the rest of us. You know, there's good, bad, and ugly with every single one of us. It doesn't make you a bad person, no matter what the experience was. I don't care if there was cheating or infidelity or bad things that happened in between. You're not a bad person. We all make choices maybe that are not what we would do when we're in our best state of mind, and our spouses or ex-spouses do as well, but you are not innately a bad person. Number 2, divorce doesn't mean you're a failure. Okay. Just because your relationship ends. I mean, think about it. When you're dating, your relationships end all the time. Or if you think back, if you dated a lot in your 20s or your teens or whatever, relationships ended, friendships end, employment ends. Mm-hmm. All of these different things in your life end. Like Krista was talking about, reason, season, or a lifetime. I mean, there's a reason and a season for different relationships that come in your life. It's the same thing with divorce. You're not a failure. The relationship ends. And that's okay. And you take your lessons from it and you move forward. And number 3, and I think most important, is you don't have to do it alone. I don't know about you, Krista, but for me, I really allowed myself to isolate when I was going through all of this. I wanted to protect my ex-husband. I didn't want to talk about it to other people as much because I was worried, what if we stay together? What are they going to think? Are they going to judge him? And I know he had fears of that too. But when I did finally open up, like when I started talking to you, it was like, oh, thank God, I don't feel so alone anymore. And people can help you to see different perspectives, and they can help you to think of things you might not, because even going through the divorce process is hard. There's a lot of hard shit that comes out of that, complicated, confusing stuff, and you want people to have your back and to help you if things do get ugly, or also to help them stay not ugly and work through it as amicably as you can. So don't do it alone. Reach out to a friend, a family member, a trusted person, a stranger, a therapist. I don't care who it is, but talk to somebody about it. Don't do it alone.
Yeah. Thank you for summarizing those points, Monica. And a lot of the women actually who are attending our retreat in January have gone through divorce, and they're going to be, so we're training these women to use their life stories and turn them into motivational speakers. And they're going to be talking about relationships that they've had with narcissistic exes and their divorce. And so like, as we teach in our company, like it is really important to speak up about these experiences. And just as we're doing here today, there was a time where both Monica and I didn't know if it would be okay to talk about this taboo topic. But what we found through our coaching is that there's a lot of people out there, like you said, who are going alone through these thoughts, and they think there's something wrong with them, and they think they fucked up. And so people really need to hear your story, and people need to know that they're not alone right now, because this is a really common thing, that marriages don't work out and we get divorced, and it's a part of life. And it happens and you move on, and then you create a better life after because of it. And then my last thing is that, and I know I recommended this book to you, Monica, when I was coaching you, is I would really recommend you all to read the book Conscious Uncoupling by Catherine Woodward Thomas. And it is so powerful. And I think that's actually why I was able to do that mindset shift with you, Monica, is I got it from that book of showing you how divorce can be really such a beautiful, loving action. So yeah, we'll put the link to it in this comment section. But that's all we have for you all today. Thanks so much for joining us for our weekly Facebook Live, and we'll be back next week. We don't know what the topic is yet. We probably should have figured that out, but we'll be back next week with something good and juicy.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.